Hello, my name is Katie. Welcome to my channel, Duckpotatoe's World. Today I have a tiny tip for you. If you use a umbrella swift and a hand cranked winder to wind your yarn up into cakes, I have a gadget that might come in handy for you. This is a yarn feeder. I think it is intended to put a spool of thread on and feed the thread into your sewing machine, so I guess it's actually a thread feeder. But I have found that while it works great for my sewing machine, it's also very handy at providing just the right amount of tension for winding yarn. So today I am finally ready to wind up the first hanks of my custom colorway Hot Springs Fiber Company yarn. This is the Morning Haze base. This is the Aurora Borealis base. And I can't remember the name of this base, but I'll put it on the screen so you know what the base is. But this is a custom colorways that I actually got to dye with Tracy. It was really fun. So I call the colorways Emerald Green with Envy and the Green Grotto. Both of these are the Green Grotto. So you, oh my goodness. Anyway, you cannot order these. They are custom colorways that I did dye myself, but you can order your own custom colorway on any of her very excellent bases. So let's get these guys caked up. I'm actually going to be knitting the Enchanted Forest shawl, which is a Hot Springs Fiber Company pattern with these. I wanted to cast it on. I wanted to cast it on St. Patrick's Day because, you know, green, but I didn't. I don't remember now why. I think I've been knitting socks and other things, but we're gonna get these wound up. I'm gonna show you how to use this with the yarn winder to wind cakes, and I'm also gonna show you how to use this if you want to wind sock yarn onto a cone. It's actually also helpful for that. So here we go. I have to get everything set up because my office is a multi-purpose space. And therefore, I don't get to leave my setup, you know, the way that I would like all the time. I have to move things around some. But fortunately, as I have continued to experiment with things, I've been kind of improving the way that things are set up. So that's been great. Sorry, I hope you guys can hear me. I need to make sure I probably face the camera when I'm talking. Don't have my back to you. But I have made some improvements. I got a new chair that my husband bought for me and I love. I got a cart. That just came from Walmart, but it has been so helpful to get some things off the floor and out from under my feet. And yeah, so when I don't have school stuff in front of my desk, it gives me plenty of room to work. It's a nice big desk. It's actually a really old desk. I think we've had it probably since before my oldest child was born, so 15, 16 years. And I wanted to get a new one just because it's got some problems. The corner back there where all that weight is sagging. And I had to put, I have to prop it up with a 1x4. But I can't find another desk that has as much, I don't know what the length, width, I guess, depth maybe, as this one. This one is like 27 or 28 inches. And I just have lots of working space. My kids can sit at the other side and we can all work together. And I don't want to replace it with anything smaller. So I just keep recovering the top of it with contact paper and hoping that it'll last me just a little while longer. All right, we're going to do this one first because look at that. Is that not gorgeous? I love it. So I put it on my umbrella swift and I will cut out the bits of yarn that are just holding it. Holding it together. Oops, that's the end of my yarn right there. I run it through here, and I kind of make it at a bit of an angle so that it has a bit of drag on it. I don't want it to be straight on, because I find if it's straight on, it doesn't really provide any tension. It just, you know, it just goes right through and doesn't touch. The hole's probably a little bit too big, maybe, to provide the tension that I want. But there I go. And this provides just enough tension. Whoops, did I miss a spot? What's stuck there? Just enough tension. And I don't have to sit there with my hand holding it up, which is nice. And I can go nice and slow, so I get a nice loose cake. I do not like to cake my yarn too tightly. I wish I had shown it. I had some yarn that was caked very tightly, and the same exact yarn that was still left in the hank. And when you looked at them, you could really tell the stress on the yarn that was caked too tightly and stored that way. So you definitely, if you want to store your yarn, I highly recommend you leave it in the hank. If you're not planning to knit it right away, don't cake it up yet. Leave it in the hank. And if you are going to cake it up, do so loosely. And the easiest way to make sure it's loose is to go slow while you crank. I know everybody wants to hurry because this is not the fun part of knitting, but the slower you go, the looser this cake will be, and it doesn't pull the yarn tight. And it keeps the fiber springy and pretty and not stretched out. And some yarns are more prone to stretching out than others. I know like bamboo and linen yarns, those can get stretched out, and I don't think they ever go back. Wool, if you stretch it out, you might be able to wash it and regain some of the springiness, maybe not all of the springiness. Usually when I wind yarn, I sit here, wind it, and I watch my favorite YouTubers. Nice and slow. I like to keep an eye on my cake winder while I'm working, because sometimes the yarn will slip off the edge and I have to pay a little attention, but it usually does pretty good. This is just I think it came from Michael's, a loops and thread cake winder I've had for ever since I first learned to knit. It's the only one I've ever had. And I think I bought it with a Michael's 20% off coupon one year, and I have never needed another. This has worked fine forever for me. I don't have any trouble with it. It can wind all weights of yarn. It can do pretty big cakes. I mean, I can do 100 grams of a worsted weight yarn on it. I mean, that's probably about the biggest I can do, but it does well with smaller cakes too, though. Like I can do a 20-gram cake, like for contrast heel toes and cuffs, and it winds the small cake pretty well too. So I've been very happy with it. I got my yarn Swift from Amazon. I had a really nice wooden one that I actually found it. My friend found at a resale shop, but we broke it. So I could not afford to replace it with another nice wooden one. But this little metal one has worked just beautifully for me for years now. I live in a small town, so I tend to order a lot of things from Amazon just because we don't have a lot of shops around here that cater to this sort of a hobby. I can drive into the bigger town that's near where we live, but getting the time to do that when I'm going to spend an hour just in drive time, not counting shopping time, can be a bit of a challenge. Whew. I don't remember how many yards were on these hanks, but I'm hoping I get this whole thing on one ball. It's filling up quick. think we're gonna make it. There we go. Oh my goodness, it was beautiful in the hank, and it is beautiful in the cake also. So you can see that it is a fingering weight yarn. It makes a very nice sized cake, and it's nice and loose and squishy. It's not tight at all. It will store well. Now, if you'll give me a second to set up, we will do a sock yarn into a cone using my same little threader here. So these sock yarns that I'm going to use, they're actually already caked. They were used in hand knit socks previously by somebody else and then given to me, and I'm just going to wind them onto a cone. So I will put them through the loop, and I actually have a bowl down on the floor or a bag or something. Apparently I'm missing it. Let me go get my bowl. Sorry about that. This is the bowl I use. I put the yarn in the bowl. I put the bowl on the floor. This is mainly because there's dog hair on my floor, because my dog thinks that any moment where she's not directly underneath me is a moment of her life that's been wasted. So there's always dog hair on the floor. So put the yarn in the bowl, put the bowl on the floor, and then I will wind the cone. Now, I have been practicing cone winding. I am getting better. One of the other Dean & Bean sock machine users posted a video showing how she wound a cone, and that's been very helpful. I am down to having to wind most cones once or twice instead of 3 to 4 times a cone. That said, we shall see how this goes today. Usually if I try to show someone, that's when I have trouble. We're off to a good start. My cone got put on well and is not wobbly. But it will pull. I kind of have to work it. I have this gap in the wood here I have to be careful with. I'm also finding that with winding cones, just like with winding cakes of yarn, going slower is usually better. Even though I hate going slow, because winding cones is definitely not among my favorite activities by any stretch of the imagination. The unfortunate reality is that the slower I go, the better my cones turn out. So, there you have it. But this way, the yarn threader or the stand kind of provides all the tension, and I'm more just having to guide the yarn instead of having to do both. There's a knot in the yarn there. I still do way better if I'm only having to cake up or cone up 50 grams. If I have to do a whole 100 grams, you can guarantee I'm going to have to repeat that cone. 100-gram cones are just not easy for me for some reason. because I have so much trouble with cones, I still find that I do better if I use my hand instead of my clamp. It's not a great feeling on my hand. Hopefully it will. But there you go. Much easier. I'm not even going to have to rewind this cone. So when I use this, it tends to just come out so much better. So I bought mine on Amazon. I think I paid $11 or $12 for it. It was not very expensive. I'm sure they have them at Joann's. They probably have them at Hobby Lobby or something like that as well, or any sewing shop near you. But I hope you found that tiny tip helpful. If you don't have one of these contraptions, you can use what I used to use, which was my husband, and he would have to stand there and hold the yarn while I wound it. He wasn't really fond of that. He really likes MrsDuckPotatoe's favorite thing that I have lately is that right there. So, okay, so we have talked about hanks and cakes, and I am going to actually show you how to reverse the process. Now, let's say you have a yarn in a cake and you want to put it back into a hank from the cake. So you can use a nitty noddy. So you can get nitty noddies in multiple sizes. I have 2 sizes. I use this for like 50 to 100 grams that I want to put back into a hank. This is for either smaller little bits. But the nitty noddy works. I hold the yarn in my left hand and I hold the nitty noddy. And you just go around and around and around and around. So I put my yarn down in that little bowl, still down on the floor, and just go around and around and around. Nothing crosses, so you're going under, over, but none of this yarn, I know this yarn kind of looks like it's crossing, but it's the one I'm holding from the middle. None of the yarns are actually crossing each other. It just goes around and around. You can get nitty noddies, I don't know where, I'm sure you can find them lots of places. I think I bought these from Knit Picks. I bought them online. But you just go and wind it around and around and around, and it will take it back out of the cake and make it into a hank. So I have done this when people have gifted me like yarn they didn't use or extra hanks and they already had it caked up. A lot of times I will go ahead and put it back into a hank, partly because I don't want it stretched out in storage, but also because hanks take up, this is easier to store. I can smush a lot of this into less space than I can do cakes. These take up a little bit more space, I feel like. These are easier to store, just space-wise. So I did have a friend, a really, really gracious friend, my friend Dawn, who, when I was an early knitter and didn't have very much of anything and not a lot of resources to get a lot of things, she gifted me with a very large amount of yarn and sets of needles and just things that she wasn't using anymore. And I will forever be grateful to my fairy god knitter because it was such a blessing to me. I could not have done. It was a big blessing to me. She gave me a lot of yarn, a lot of nice quality yarn, a lot of nice quality needles, and really got me going in a very nice way. So, Dawn, if you're watching, I still remember and thank you for that every time I think about it. But she had a lot of her yarn already caked up, and so that's when I bought this bigger nitty noddy. I think about that time. I bought the nitty noddy so I could put it back into hanks to store. And then later I bought the bigger one, or I bought the smaller one. I don't remember which one I bought first. I bought one and then later I bought the other. Now you can just tie these off however you like. I usually just use the end of my yarn here and just kind of weave it in and out of the threads. I'm sure there's probably like some official correct way to do this, but I have no idea what that might be. I just sort of wrap it around a few times, in and out, and then just tie it off. And that usually holds it enough. if I have a big hank with a lot of yardage, I might do that, you know, on 2 or 3 or even 4 of the edges. For right now, I'm just going to do that. That's plenty for this little bit of yarn. I don't know how much yarn this is, but it's not a lot. You slide it off your nitty natty. You have a loop, which you just twist. My friend Tracy's watching this. She's going to laugh because I'm not very good at this either. She twists her yarn up into these beautiful hanks, and mine don't always come out so nice. But you twist it up and kind of give it a tug, and it will go into this lovely hank. And you can store it like that. Of course, this is just a little one. If I had more yarn, I would use the bigger nitty notty. But it works the same way, whether you're using a big one or a little one. Isn't that pretty? So there you go. We have done hanks, cakes, and skeins. Hanks, cakes, and skeins. We didn't really talk about skeins, I guess. I don't know if the word is skein or skein. I say both. So if anyone knows, if you're supposed to pronounce that word S-K-E-I-N, if it's skein or skein, let me know, because I have no idea. But skeins is usually when you buy yarn from, like Hobby Lobby or Walmart. It'll come in a skein. I have yarn that way. I just don't have that yarn that way. Maybe I do in here, actually. Oh, yeah, I do. Here we go. So this is a skein. When you get it, like this is from Knit Picks, Walmart, lots of places, your yarn will come like this. Sometimes if I can find the end of the yarn, I will knit from the center of this. Sometimes you can get what we call yarn bark, where you pull and like a bunch tumbles out. I don't like that. So if it's being like that, I might wind it into a ball or wind it into a cake or something else. But this is a skein. Hank. Cake. So there you go. So just different ways that your yarn can come and how you can work with it. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you found something helpful or entertaining, or ideally both. If you like what I do here, hit like, subscribe if you want to know more stuff that I have. It's a very eclectic channel. We have a little bit of everything. I do have a new playlist up where my 13-year-old son is teaching me to play a video game where the main character is a yarn person. So yeah, that's called Unraveled 2. You can check that out if you have any interest in that. I really do appreciate your support. I hope you'll come back and join me again. Y'all have a blessed day.